Tonight, a passenger burned in the Steam Ranger accident dies in hospital.
A call for the legalisation of hard drugs to curb an alarming rise in armed hold-ups.
And a mini-cyclone devastates a coastal town north of Sydney.
Good evening. Also tonight, a revolutionary facelift technique that does away with the scalpel.
But first, a 41-year-old Morford Vale father of two critically burnt while riding in a Steam Ranger locomotive has died in hospital. Greg Keane, a passenger scalded by superheated steam in the accident a fortnight ago, died this afternoon.
Steam Ranger's Southern Encounter service to the south coast was steaming through countryside near Strathalbyn when water poured into the firebox. The resultant superheated steam exploded into the cabin, injuring two Steam Ranger crew and two passengers. One of the critically burnt men was airlifted to the Royal Adelaide Hospital, but despite intensive efforts to save him, the 41-year-old man died at 12:30 this afternoon. Loco 520 was back on the south coast today, most volunteers unaware of the tragic news. Volunteers operating the train at Victor Harbour today said they had no comment to make about the death of Greg Keane. The Historical Society President Malcolm Thompson said Greg Keane's condition worsened last night. The station master at Victor Harbour said news of the death would sadden all volunteers. The fireman Roger Curry is still in a critical condition. Driver Ian Johnston may leave hospital this week, while the other passenger, Bill Moody, is recovering at home. The Department of Labour and Industry investigation into the explosion will now be taken over by the State Coroner. Rod White, 7 Nightly News.
It's been claimed some crime prevention measures are actually increasing the number of robberies. According to the local Victims of Crime Service, we could drastically cut the number of armed robberies by legalising heroin and handing out the drug free to addicts.
Over the last 5 years, there's been a huge increase in the number of robberies in South Australia. Usually they're armed robberies.
The main victims are obviously cash handlers, that is, anyone working in a business situation that deals with the public.
5 years ago, there were fewer than 700 robberies in South Australia in a year. Now it's more than doubled, up to almost 1,600. Often the offenders are drug addicts needing cash to support their habit. Banks and building societies have tightened their security with armed guards, video cameras and security screens.
Even service stations like this one are effectively deterring armed robbers. But ironically, that just drives bandits towards other targets that are not as well protected.
What's happened, I think, is that the target's shifted, and so in order to make anything like the required amounts of money, armed robbers now have to hold up several places instead of one.
Each shop owner can take steps to improve security, but a desperate drug addict will always find someone, somewhere to rob. The Victims of Crime Service says a real solution would be to legalise expensive drugs such as heroin and provide them free to addicts.
If a program like that could be agreed upon and worked out so that it actually achieves the desired end, there would be an immediate reduction in armed robberies, a significant reduction.
Shane Sodhi, 7 Nightly News.
Bigger profits and more jobs. That's the prediction of local retailers in the lead up to Christmas. With the worst of the recession over, the major department stores and discount chains say they're gearing up for the busiest December trading in years.
In past years, the South Australian retail sector has pinned its hopes on the expected Christmas rush, only to be disappointed. This year, however, there's a newfound optimism. With the impact of extended hours and Sunday trading, retailers are noting an increase in the number of customers and the amount they're spending.
It really needs a boost of confidence within the community. After all, that's where money comes from. And I can see that things are leading towards that happening.
In an average month, South Australians spend around $600 million in the shops. That's expected to top $820 million in December. While a rise can always be expected at Christmas, importantly, this year's figure is likely to be a 5% increase over last year. That's a trend the Retail Traders Association expects to continue into the new year.
I think the mood of South Australia is slowly starting to pick up, and that augurs well for stable employment within the retail industry and return to some reasonable levels of profitability again.
Another spin-off from extended trading hours has been the need for extra staff, especially over Christmas. Traders are now confident at least some of those jobs will become full-time in 1994. Philip Martin, 7 Nightly News.
All state government boards and committees will be made up of equal numbers of men and women if the state opposition wins power at the December 11 election. Dean Brown's commitment comes hot on the heels of a range of Labor initiatives which also target women.
Today it was Dean Brown's turn to woo the female vote with the release of the Liberals' women's policy. The key parts of it: reviewing equal opportunity laws, getting more women in senior public service positions, establishing a Women's Advisory Council, and boosting women's representation on boards and committees. Also, unpaid sick leave for parents to look after sick children.
What we're allowing them to do is, with full credibility, say to their bosses, look, my children are sick, I'm taking some sick leave.
But a mixed reaction from employers.
We would be quite happy for the legislation to allow this to be worked out in the workplace. What we would be concerned about is an across-the-board approach that put it into the legislation to apply at every workplace.
The ALP claims it's already looking at similar ideas. Arnold took a low-key campaign approach today, opening some club rooms and taking the opportunity to have a dig at Dean Brown over their upcoming media debates.
I am saying Lynn Arnold is prepared to face the journalists, the people and Dean Brown. Why, Dean Brown, aren't you prepared to face the journalists, the people and me?
Mr Arnold should take a Valium, stop panicking, just calm down. You'll find we've got 4 debates in this campaign, which is more than any other election campaign in Australia.
Amanda Backman, 7 Nightly News.
A small New South Wales town is counting the cost tonight after a mini-cyclone which demolished 8 houses and damaged more than 100 others. Many of the residents of Tucavia are homeless and all are without electricity after 5 minutes of mayhem.
Residents say it was like a bomb. Just after 9 o'clock last night, the usual quiet Saturday evening in the village of Tucavia exploded with all the fury nature could muster. This morning, the swathe of the storm could be seen clearly. Trees laid out like matchsticks, houses that had ceased to be. Nature took 5 minutes to destroy what man had been building for a century.
And it's just hard to say where it went.
Yesterday, this was a caravan.
Oh, when we saw it, it was like a war zone. A bomb couldn't have done any more damage than what that wind did.
The only thing that shocks residents more than the awesome power of last night's storm is that in the midst of all that destruction, no one was seriously hurt. 8 homes were totally flattened. Luckily, they were all empty when the storm hit.
Little baby across the road was like it wasn't in its cot. It had been dead today. Cut its cot in half, come straight through the window and cut the cot in half.
The village may take months to rebuild. In Tucavia, Jeff Bruce, 7 Nightly News.
After the break, all gain and no pain. An Adelaide beauty therapist pioneers surgery-free facelifts.
And a secret plan to save Fitzroy as thousands of Lions supporters rally at the MCG.
Kids' toys. Have you been brainwashed? Parents spend a fortune on heavily advertised gimmicks they think their children want. But can kids get as much fun from simple things? With Christmas coming, a must-watch story. Real Life, 6:30 Monday.
Take a shot, make it go. If you don't try, you'll never know. Learn to dance, start to sing. It's up to you to do your thing. Cause you feel deep inside, you just want to taste it all. You gotta taste it all. The taste of Diet Coke. You gotta taste it all. Yeah, the taste of Diet Coke. You gotta taste it all.
Low prices on national brands every day, every single day. That's what makes Big W so different. How would you feel if you bought something at a store one day and saw it was on sale the next? At Big W, our prices are always low. Our job is to give our customers the best quality products at the lowest possible prices every time they walk into the store. That's what we're here for. That's our promise to you from Big W.
When it comes to great tasting ice cream, Dairyvale delivers. There's 4 delicious flavours to choose from. There's even peaches and cream. And the taste, well, it will leave a smile on everyone's face. So treat yourself to South Australia's very own Dairyvale ice cream.
Come on, fellas, get a move on.
Hop into a new Magna GLX before November 30 and you'll get automatic transmission worth $1,519 for only $1.
Wherever you call in Australia, you can enjoy Optus low rates on long-distance calls. How? Just dial 1 first.
Overseas now, and a gunman has shot dead the driver of a car carrying Winnie Mandela, the former wife of ANC leader Nelson Mandela. Police say 2 men opened the door of her car at traffic lights and shot the driver at close range. He in turn shot the gunman before dying. Mrs Mandela was shocked but not hurt in the incident. Police believe the gunman wanted to hijack her car.
The 15 regional leaders at the APEC summit have agreed to meet again next year in Indonesia. Their meeting in Seattle marks the emergence of the Asia-Pacific region as a new global economic force.
The pre-dawn darkness of Puget Sound off Seattle was lit up this morning. US security forces preparing for the leaders' summit on Blake Island. The weather was cold, but the newfound friendship between Paul Keating and Bill Clinton was obviously warm. Mr Keating went to the island to see Australia's vision of a new economic grouping fulfilled. The meeting more successful than anyone could have hoped.
We've agreed that the Asian Pacific region should be a united one, not divided. We've agreed that our economic policies should be open, not closed.
Mr Clinton was clearly pleased with the outcome.
It got better as it went along. It's like life.
Agreement too, that the event should be repeated in Indonesia. Paul Keating was also delighted.
The atmospherics of the meeting was terrific. The chemistry, the relationship between each individual.
The summit moved to free up regional trade, establishing a business round table, and moved towards reducing red tape and an investment treaty. This summit has been an unquestioned success for the Prime Minister. Australia had 3 objectives: to get the meeting on in the first place, to begin the process of trade liberalisation, and to make sure another summit happens next year. The Prime Minister got the diplomatic trifecta. In Seattle, Glenn Milne, 7 Nightly News.
Good news for women contemplating a facelift but fearful of going under the knife. There's a new surgery-free alternative for those anxious to look a little younger.
And when I heard about it, I thought, it sounds too good to be truth.
Beauty is allegedly in the eye of the beholder, but more often than not, women are squandering squillions in the pursuit of the perfect body. Facelifts, the saving grace of thousands of women worldwide, come at a cost, both financially and physically. But now there's an alternative, the no side effects and surgery-free facelift.
You can't compare a knife when you're going under the knife, when everything's tight, you know, you can hide them to something that is done naturally and let your own skin actually rebuild himself and rejuvenate himself.
The Image 2 system uses electronic pulses aimed at acupuncture points to stimulate skin cell growth. Each session costs around $50, and the extent of damage to skin tissue determines how many sessions are needed. Image 2 isn't just for faces either. Necks, hands and breasts can also be treated.
And you almost can see instant with one treatment. If you do one side of the face, you can see the difference, how one side will lift and the other side will stay a bit droopy.
Liz Kefford, 7 Nightly News.
The Fitzroy Football Club has begun its public fight to stay in the league. It's been revealed that club officials are negotiating with a secret financial backer, and today thousands of Fitzroy fans turned out to pledge their support.
Several thousand Fitzroy supporters gathered at their old ground, the Brunswick Oval, to prove to the AFL that the Lions are not a spent force. An overdraft crisis in which the AFL and Westpac Bank have refused to back the club threatens to leave them out of next year's draw. But today, buoyed by the support from Lions fans, Chairman Dyson Horlacey revealed a secret deal was in the pipeline with a backer that only he and General Manager Barry Capuano knew the identity of.
And it is an offer that we believe the AFL will be unable to refuse.
There were angry words around the ground directed at the AFL as supporters dug deep to try to save the club using every fundraising trick available. Former Premier John Cain was taking donations on the basis the money would be put in trust until needed. If the club failed, the money would be returned.
I think what they recognise isn't just about Fitzroy. If Fitzroy doesn't survive, it'll be somebody else next week.
More than $30,000 was handed over by early afternoon, but it seems the Lions' share of the funds rests with a mystery backer. Lena Caneva, 7 Nightly News.
After the break, all today's sport, including cricket, golf and drag racing.
They may have lost the game, but the Socceroos have won a country's heart.
Here comes the greatest week of the year.
Showtime!
Starting with a wickedly funny TV first.
Don't torture yourself. That's my job.
Spend tonight getting to know the Addams family. Tomorrow, a milestone in Australian television history.
One night when you'll meet all your old friends.
The final, emotion-charged night of a country practice. Tuesday, Olivia Newton-John joins host Gary Sweet in a glittering showbiz event.
What a night.
The People's Choice Awards. More great nights ahead on 7.
The dishwash powder you use might well get things clean, but it can badly damage and fade patterned fine-bone china. About half as much of concentrated Sun Progress cuts through even the toughest dirt. Brilliant. But only Sun Progress has a unique colour care formula that won't damage or fade your finest china, like ordinary powders can. My little boy will now demonstrate. There. Tough, but a real softie at heart. Just like my boy.
Concentrated Sun Progress. Tough on dirt, tender on fine china.
If you think all toothpastes are messy, look at it Colgate's way. Introducing the Colgate Clean and Easy stand-up tube. No more messy sinks. With Colgate, you measure out just enough. No more messy overflow. Colgate's new pull-back nozzle takes control. Out with the messy old tubes. In with the brand new Colgate Clean and Easy stand-up tube. No other tube of toothpaste stands up to it.
There's nothing quite like the taste of milk fresh from the farm and full of natural goodness. Now, thanks to Dairyvale, you can buy that very same great-tasting traditional creamy milk at your local store. With a delicious full cream flavour and no more fat than ordinary milk, traditional creamy milk makes everything taste better, including your favourite recipes. All natural traditional creamy milk. Fresh from South Australia's very own Dairyvale.
Now that Christmas is nearly here, the Kmart Honey Bears have some great gift ideas. Like this 5-piece Arco Steel cookware set with bonus steamer, just $169. And for the children, Nintendo budget software, only $19.95. And there's more. These fabulous portable cooler warmer boxes, just $99 each. And Christmas trees with fairy lights, only $19.95. And as the Honey Bears would say, there's all of this and much, much more when you come on into your Kmart store.
Good evening. The men responsible for putting Australian soccer on the world map arrived home today. Australia's Socceroos won praise and respect for their efforts against Argentina, but missed out on a World Cup berth. Now it's back to the drawing board and the National League.
Well done,
In the space of a month, Australian soccer has come a long way. A hero's welcome at the Sydney airport, something skipper Paul Wade and his teammates probably only ever dreamt about. It was the same here in Adelaide as our Socceroos arrived home. South Australia supplied 7 members of the squad, including keeper Robert Zabika.
I'll never forget the night. It was just an amazing night, and you know, it's something that none of the boys will ever forget.
For 2 reasons: the disappointment of losing and missing out on the World Cup, and the thrill of tackling Argentina on their own pitch.
They did us proud, and I think that ovation that the Argentinian public gave the team, which lasted almost 2 minutes, speak very highly about the recognition they got from them.
It's the recognition soccer officials and players have craved for from the Australian public. The Socceroos' gutsy effort against Argentina might just have done the trick. Everyone will now turn their attention to the National League. Adelaide City and West Adelaide both play matches on Wednesday night. Paul Childs, 7 Nightly News.
New Zealand looks set to win its tour match against South Australia at the Adelaide Oval. Helped by some ordinary batting, the Kiwi bowlers ran through the SA lineup. James Brayshaw, the only batsman to offer any resistance.
An overnight declaration by the Kiwis had Greg Blewett and Paul Nobes at the crease sooner than they'd expected, and both were prepared to play their shots, although they didn't always find the middle of the bat. When Murphy Sewer trapped Nobes in front for 17, Blewett took up the attack, but fell 1 short of his half-century, Mark Haslam claiming his wicket. Darren Lehman was a man in a hurry. He blazed 16 runs from as many balls, but won't want to remember this shot, SA 3 for 110. James Brayshaw played a lone hand in defying the Kiwi attack, but when Darren Webber fell to Simon Dool, New Zealand was well on top. Things didn't get any better for the Crow-Eaters. Richard de Gruen picked up 2 wickets in 3 balls, Nielsen for 8 and Scuderi for a duck as the odd ball kept low. Damien Reeves showed some enterprise and Brayshaw continued to deny the Kiwis until he forgot where his off-stump was and had it tilted back just 6 runs short of his 100. The Kiwis well poised to wrap this one up sometime tomorrow. Dion Heyman, 7 Nightly News.
In the Sheffield Shield match in Melbourne, Victoria has taken first innings points thanks to an 18-run last wicket stand between Craig Howard and Simon Cook. While at the Gabba, Queensland has won its one-day match against Tasmania. Stuart Law and Matthew Hayden put on 260 runs for the second wicket to set up the win. Ian Baker Finch has bounced back from an otherwise dismal year with a spectacular final round to claim the Australian PGA at Concord. The Queenslander shot a 7-under 64 to force a playoff with Grant Waite and Peter Fowler, Baker Finch taking victory on the second hole.
Ian Baker Finch was the bolter of the pack, bagging 6 birdies on the front 9 to charge up the leaderboard. Overnight leader Peter Fowler needed this putt to shave another stroke on the opening hole.
Yes! Oh, what a start!
American John Morse posed the biggest threat, but after breaking a branch in his backswing, PGA officials decided he had improved his stroke and penalised him 2 shots, robbing him of a place in an historic 4-way playoff. Fowler could have avoided the extra holes by making this putt on 18. That miss sent him into sudden death with Baker Finch and Waite at the 17th. After 3 pars, the players headed to 18, where Baker Finch's approach set up this putt for birdie and the PGA crown.
He's done it.
Brent Rees, 7 Nightly News.
Local netball continues to resemble a chess game as players move from club to club. It's expected that Oakdale's Rebecca Sanders will be the next and join State League runner-up Contacts next season.
It's no secret Contacts have struggled to cover the loss of centre Karen Schultz. Since injury forced her off the court, the Sky Blues have lacked drive in the mid-court and they hope Sanders will be the answer. The Oakdale captain is a former state player and should be a boost for Contacts as they strive to go one better in 1994. An official announcement is expected tomorrow. And in district basketball, Murray Bridges' Ron Nunnally has won his first Woolacott medal, edging out Sixers' Chris Blakemore and Brett Maher. Rachel Spawn was voted the outstanding female player in the state and captured her second Halls medal.
The Adelaide Giants had their best night of the season to tie their series with the Brisbane Bandits. Adelaide lost its first 2 matches in Brisbane on Friday night, but hit back to win games 3 and 4 and are yet to lose a series. South Australian driver Ed Ordinsky has won the Rally of Canberra, but second place to local driver Neil Bates has given him enough points to take out the 1993 Australian Rally Championship.
The final round of the Australian Rally Championship wound up today in Canberra with victory to Ed Ordinsky in a Gallant. South Australian started the final day with a 1.5-minute lead and clung to it to the end. His nearest rival, ACT driver Neil Bates, was ready to pounce if Ordinsky made a mistake, but had to settle for second. It was still good enough, though, for Bates to secure the overall championship, giving cause for plenty of celebrations at the end of a long, hard season. And tragedy during a motorcycle race at the Macau Grand Prix. Only seconds after the start of a support race, Tung Sai-Wing brushed a crash barrier, falling directly in the path of a following rider. Despite attempts to save his life, the 30-year-old died in hospital, succumbing to severe head, chest and stomach injuries.
Drag racing has again proved its spectator appeal, with more than 10,000 fans turning out at the Adelaide International Raceway last night.
It's loud, smoky and all over in as short a time as possible. But that's just what the fans turn up to see. And there was plenty of action to keep the punters happy last night. 2 national bike records, including the first sub-8-second run by Les Donnan, were highlights of the meeting, with the entertainment being provided by the Wild Bunch category. Victor Bray wound his Chev up to 191 miles per hour, but was still beaten by local Ricky Montserrat in a very non-standard Sigma Scorpion. Not far away, but travelling a fair bit slower, several of the world's best cyclists were competing in the International Teams event at the Superdrome. A big crowd was again treated to top-class action, with local Stuart O'Grady and Brett Aitken coming out on top, compatriots Gary Niewand and Darren Hill second, with the American duo of Aaron Hartwell and Jamie Carney third. Sean Phillips was the night's major casualty in this 5-bike pile-up, but escaped with a bruised shoulder.
And that's all in a busy weekend of sport. Here's John.
Thanks, Bruce. Always busy. Willsey next with all the weather details for the working week.
And bears from here, there and everywhere converge on the annual Teddy Bears picnic.
Dougie. Jizza.
SA's very own Dairy Vale iced coffee with real coffee flavour.
Don't you know it's magic?
Right now, Solomon's can carpet your whole home in time for Christmas with your choice of these magic package prices. $14.90, $17.90, $19.90, all fully installed.
Don't you know it's magic?
That's carpet underlay and laying.
Oh, baby, it's magic.
Pay nothing till February.
Magic carpet ride for you and me.
Carpet your whole home for Christmas from only $14.90, but you better hurry.
Don't you know it's magic?
Solomon's.
Make the right connection with Cartronics and Telecom Mobile Net, Australia's own. Whether you need a lightweight, pocket-sized mobile that won't weigh you down, or a phone with long-life batteries that's as tough as nails, Cartronics Communications have the right mobile phone at the right price for you. Buy the latest NEC Sports and we'll kick in a mobile net footy signed by Tony Modra. Cartronics Communications, make the right connection.
Used in toys like these for an hour a day, the leading heavy-duty battery would last 5 days, but a Duracell battery would last 21 days when used exactly the same way. Duracell, you just can't top the copper top.
This Christmas, you'll receive fantastic trade-in deals at Radio Rentals. On Sony TVs, $120 for your working colour TV. On all frost-free fridges, $130. On hi-fis, $90. Radio Rentals for the best trade-in deals this Christmas.
From the lush Hollywood Hills to the parched desert, the Talk to the Animals team in America. A fantastic 2-hour special next.
Hello everyone, our maximum today was a lovely 20.6 at 1:30 this afternoon. That was after a low of 9.6 at 6:10 this morning. At the moment it's about at 18 in Adelaide. It's been fine throughout the state today with the exception of a few light showers down in the southeast. Temperatures have ranged from 33 at Marla down to 17 at Cape Border. Now, this weak front's going to pass through the southeast parts tonight, bringing showers to that area, and those showers will move further south tomorrow. It's going to be fine on Tuesday, but another weak front on Wednesday is going to bring those showers back to the southern areas. And apart from moisture feeding in from the northwest there, most of our areas you can see there was fairly cloud-free today. Around the country tomorrow, overnight storms are forecast for Alice Springs and Darwin, a late thunderstorm tomorrow for Brisbane, showers for Sydney, Melbourne and Hobart, but fine elsewhere. And our state mostly fine, apart from a few showers about the southern coast and ranges, and they'll be chiefly overnight and early tomorrow. Due to freshening southwest to south winds, it's going to be cool to mild in the south, and those winds will be quite strong on the lower southeast coast overnight. Once again, warm in the north, and the rest of the state will have mainly moderate south to southeast winds. There is a strong wind warning current for the southeast coast, which is south of Robe. On our local beaches, those winds will reach 15 to 20 knots at times, with the seas to 1.5 metres. And apart from a light shower about the hills and the southern suburbs overnight and early tomorrow, the city's going to be fine tomorrow with a maximum somewhere near 20 degrees after a low of 11 tonight. Now, tomorrow's UV risk is moderate to high, so your skin will damage in just 14 minutes without any protection. And after the showers clear sometime tomorrow, it's going to be fine for the next few days, but I'll tell you more about that tomorrow night. Until then, good night.
Thanks, Wilsey. And finally, tonight, Pooh was there, so was Paddington. Blinky Bill put in an appearance, as did Rupert and Yogi. In fact, a whole bunch of bears got together with their owners for the annual Teddy Bears picnic. They came in all shapes and sizes, the owners as well as the bears, to Elder Park for an afternoon of fun with a Christmas theme. But there's no such thing as a free lunch, even for the bears. And the idea this year was for everyone to come armed with a gift for the wishing tree. Similar trees are set up in all Kmart stores nationwide, and closer to Christmas, the Salvation Army will collect the array of gifts and distribute them to needy children.
Lovely bears.
Yes, looks like there was a lot of big kids there today as well.
I would have been there. I've got a friend
You've
called...
got a Teddy, have you?
Oh, not that I sleep with anymore. I've got a friend actually called Ted Bear, so Ted, if you're watching, all the best to you. See you next weekend. True story.
Good night.
Good night.